Greetings, gamers! Welcome to part number 19 of my Let's Play Fire Emblem 4, Genealogy of the Holy War, and in today's episode I have a few things to finish off, per se. One of those things is to attack good old Chagall and defeat him with Deidre, as long as she hits. Afterwards, I think I'm going to be sending her back to the home castle and hopefully doing a little bit more arena with her next turn. I am going to be seizing next turn, however. So regardless of whether or not she hits or can be sent back or this, that, or the other, I'm just finishing the chapter next turn. Alright, Deidre, please hit. And she did hit her target. Chagall is down. Oh, no, wait, spare me, please. And pathetic experience points for her. That's kind of wild. He was a general, too. She does get the physics staff, which is nice. The only thing I'm going to be doing with this is selling it, really, because the fact of the matter is that nobody else can really get it. I mean, there's other people who could maybe benefit from selling it for money. I don't really think Ethlyn is one of them, but it is definitely a possibility there. Ethlyn has to buy a $40,000 band this coming up turn, or this coming up chapter, so there is that. I'm going to go ahead and return you. I do believe this is the last person I'm going to be returning with Ethlyn. However, I do want to warp back Madir, specifically because he can go ahead and take on the last arena. Whether or not he beats it is a whole different story. Lex beat his arena. He was able to defeat Chimos after some trial and error. And Madir... Alright, Killer Bow. Marilyn the Sniper. Yeah, she doubles him if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this is not a likely victory. So unfortunately, I think I'm not going to bother with that. Maybe I'll try again next turn, but it's really not that big a deal. Sigurd's phase. Madir. Attack with the Killer Bow. Marilyn has to miss like a couple of times, and he also has to crit multiple times. So this is, again, it's just not likely. I'm really doing this because of the fact that he had the potential to beat her. I'm really kind of not now, because the fact of the matter is that I let him be damaged instead of resetting. I just couldn't be bothered. All right, Aura Buchanan with the steel sword. Yeah, this is a loss. Definitely a loss. Alright, that will be the end of this turn. The end of this chapter, in fact. So I'm going to pick Sigurd and immediately seize the castle. Milady, we three shall return to Nordigon. Before we leave, however, we have something for you. This ring will help you fight more like a mounted knight. Put it on, and it will allow you to keep moving after fighting or healing. I know it will prove highly useful to you. Take care, milady. The first instance of the Night Ring, in existence in Fire Emblem. So yes, this was not first done in Path of Radiance. Path of Radiance was the only other game, I think, that replicated this item, if I'm not fully mistaken. I could be mistaken about this, but if I'm not misremembering here, the Night Ring only exists in Genealogy in Path of Radiance. Sire, King Chagall survived the battle, but he was badly wounded. He's currently being attended to by a royal priest. From what I heard, somebody pulled him from the battlefield when he was defeated. Who in the world would have done that? That was me, Sigurd. I rescued King Chagall. I preserved the life of the last survivor of the Augustria dynasty. No matter how unwise his decisions, no matter how ill his temper, I cannot sit in silence and allow my liege to die. Eldigan? You're safe? Thank the gods. I've been looking everywhere for you, since I heard you'd been arrested. I suppose I was. But what is the meaning of this, Sigurd? Why is your army swarming the capital, the first thing I find upon release? Why are reports saying our castles are now under the rule of Granvale officers, as if we are a mere tributary state? I'm disposed for barely any time at all, only to find Granvale has made itself at home in Augustria, behind my back. There had better be a damned good explanation for all this, Sigurd, or there will be consequences. I'm so sorry, Eldigan. You're absolutely right. None of this makes sense to me either. As if out of nowhere, the entirety of Augustria suddenly turned against us. We had no choice. I've been ordered to remain here with my army for the time being, to maintain peace and order. Eldigan, please. I know this is a dreadful situation, but 1 year is all I need. I can restore the country's peace to normal and repair our diplomatic ties, but only if I'm allowed time to do it. Once our time is through, we'll leave your country with no objections. My king and I pledge our word. I suppose I've little choice but to take you at your word. Very well. You have your year. I shall relocate the king to the northern Medino castle for his own protection. I'll also leave my cross knights stationed at Fort Silval. Offer even the slightest provocation, and your forces will have us to answer to. Remember, I'm holding you to your word. Break your promise, and we will break you. Do I make myself clear, Sigurd? Of course. You know I'm not about to betray you. Please, Eldigan, you have to trust me. Save progress. And I will be saving right there. King Chagall has fled Augusti's fall and moved his royal court to Medino Castle in the north. Honoring his promise to Eldigan, Sigurd allows Chagall his freedom and does not interfere. Sigurd adopts Augusti as his headquarters, and while his troops there recuperate, he persists in negotiating Augustria's return to governance by its own king. Despite his determination to restore Chagall's rule, his orders from Valhalla never change: to remain in Augusti and to govern its citizens. Scarcely 6 months have passed, and yet Granvale's ruling administrators have already grown arrogant and have taken to abusing their power over Augustria for their own gain. Day by day, the Augustrian people grow ever wearier of Granvale's actions. Before long, as he feared, Sigurd finds himself yet again caught in a new conflict. Reports abound of Chagall raising his army anew at Medino Castle, vying to reclaim his capital, his lost capital, from Sigurd. Further north, beyond Medino, the reviled pirates of Orgahill prepare themselves to sweep in and profit from the land's chaos. Valhalla's orders demand that Sigurd must maintain control of Augusti above all else. Sigurd's heart lies heavy in the face of the impending crisis. Southwest of Medino, Eldigan's forces hold the defenses of Fort Silval. The looming battle for Augustria, a trial between friendship and loyalties. Before Sigurd looms a final battle in Augustria's north. A showdown fated to shape the course of Jugdral's history. Chapter 3: Eldigan the Lionheart. Medino Castle.
Is the army ready to move in? Those fools couldn't possibly see this coming. Right, as arranged, move out. This is our final chance to return Augusti to our control. Just look at them, lingering in my kingdom, oh so carefree. I grow weary of them. They will pay dearly for this. Jacobin, where's that lousy sellsword gotten to this time?
Need me, do you?
I've seen just how good a fighter you are. You're in charge of the castle defenses.
Yeah, I know. Might be a boring job, but you're paying awfully well for it. Let's see 'em learn to fear my bolt sword.
That's what I like to hear. Don't fail me. Now, Eldigan's still at Silval, is he? How will he take this, I wonder?
My lord, we have a problem. The Medino army appears to be preparing for battle.
What?
What is His Majesty thinking, doing something so rash? Blast! To think we were so close to returning Augustia to him. Gah! I couldn't possibly fight Sigurd. What in the world can I do now? Orga Hill.
Oh, Captain, looks like the mainland down south's getting ready for Mother War. This is getting interesting. This is our chance, I reckon. What nothing stopping us from fleecing the villages. Both them armies'll be at each other's throats, so there'll be nobody interested in getting between us and the villages.
Shut it, Duval. I won't allow any petty thefts under my watch. I refuse to let us sink so low. Don't forget, we're heroic thieves. That's what the name of Orga Hill now means to the world.
Bah! What self-respecting pirate just lets the loot sit there and does nothing? The captain's gone soft. Now, calm down, Duval, my mate. I've got me a little idea. That wench struts around like the boss, but she ain't really the captain's old spray. The captain's just found her lost when she was a tiny thing and raised her as his own. She still took over him when he died, but little she knows she ain't really his brat. She ain't the real boss, so there's nothing to worry about. Now let's go and help ourselves to some treasure.
Augusti?
Dire news, sire. King Chagall's army has struck, and they have the castle surrounded.
What? That fool! We were so close to finally withdrawing from Augustria. There's no sense in attacking us now. Where in the blazes is Eldigan?
That isn't all, sire. It appears that pirates from Orga Hill are attacking amidst the confusion.
Is that so? I suppose we've no choice then. Ready everyone for battle.
My love, you're about to fight again, aren't you?
I'm afraid so. I'm sorry, Deidre, but you mustn't come with me this time. Seliph is but a newborn, and he needs you.
Yes, dear.
You needn't look so anxious, Deidre. I'll be back before long, I promise. Shannon, I have a favor to ask of you. Would you look after Deidre and Seliph, please?
Of course. Don't worry about a thing.
Ha! As spirited as ever, Shannon. At the very least, Deidre, he ought to keep you in good cheer. Don't worry about a thing, Deidre. I'll be back for you, I promise.
My lord.
Sigurd's phase. So, before I get on to the arena battles, this is quite the interesting castle. This is quite the interesting battle. And the reason why that is because you fight Jacobin with his bolt sword. It's funny because he has only 5 magic. If I was to change something about this particular unit, it would be giving him a little bit more magic so he could deal some reasonable long-range damage with that bolt sword of his. I believe Elf Thunder has a 14 might, if I'm not mistaken, which would mean that he actually... I don't remember. I think it's 14. Is it? Yeah, because I want to say that each tome raises by 6 might. They start at 8 and then go up to 14, then 20 for the regular tomes, right? So if that's true, this also would have an 8 weight when wielded at range. 14 plus 5, that's 19 magic damage. Most of your units don't have any resistance to speak of, so this isn't like a big deal, but it's still something to take into account. Something to take into note here is that there are a lot of villages in this chapter that give you interesting items. Alright, so the very first item that you can receive is in this village, and this is a Restore Staff. I highly recommend that you send Ideen, as well as Madir, over to this little side. That's what I typically do. I'm only sending Madir, obviously, because they're paired. This has the Wing Clipper. It's a sword that's effective against flying units. I actually find this weapon to be quite useless. And in fact, I think the only time in this game that it poses any kind of use is this particular chapter and a little section of the next. But typically, it's not worth worrying about having it on any particular unit. You could just give it to somebody who needs the gold, basically. This right here, this village is interesting. So this village doesn't give you any item, but upon visiting it, you get +3 strength with any one of your units that visits it. This is actually incredibly good. I give this typically to Azel, which sounds like a very silly choice, but there is good reason for this. Especially when you see my strategy. He has the magic ring. I'm going to be giving him the power ring, so he's going to get +5 strength and +5 magic alongside this +3, and then he gets a reasonable amount from promotion, and then I'm going to be giving him a certain item, which is going to buff him quite a bit. This gives +1 defense to whoever visits. I typically give this to Rakesis, or somebody of the sort who can use it. This one is kind of less important, if I'm being honest. And then there is one last item that's actually a hidden event. You have to get all the way to Bragi's tower with Dew, and wait right here in this tile. And when you do, you get a wind sword. This wind sword is probably the best 1-2 range weapon in the entire game, in my humble opinion at least. A lot of people would say that the light brand is better, and I can see the argument for that. I really can. But I think the wind sword is better. And the reason why is just because the wind sword has better weight amount. Like, it only has a weight of 2, whereas the light brand has a weight of 5 at range. The only issue is that the light brand is better in the sense that it doesn't take any weapon triangle disadvantage from dark magic, and though you don't fight a lot of dark magic, in fact, I don't think you fight pretty much any in Gen 1, except for a few bosses on castles. It's really all about the I would say the next gen. This is actually making me kind of think whether or not I want to have the wind sword or the light brand on Eflin. Oh man, now I'm kind of intrigued, because I don't particularly use the light brand on I am almost convinced to give away the light brand instead of the wind sword. I'm gonna have to think about this for this chapter. This is going to be something that's gonna take a while anyway. This chapter does take a while, just because of how big it is and how many objectives you have, let alone how much you have to do in the good old arena. So I think I'm gonna go through the arena in this particular part of the episode with Lex. He should be able to defeat the whole arena. I am not 100% certain on that factor, but he should be able to. Lex just gets to a point where he takes either no damage or deals so much damage that even if his hit is low, he's gonna eventually win anyway. Fight another round, of course. Pelio, an axe knight with a steel axe, and Lex swings with the brave axe and 2 shots Pelio. Marvelous. Lex being promoted is just kind of an incredible sight, because he goes from being a pretty decent unit with the brave axe, well, a mediocre unit, to a decent unit with a brave axe, to kind of like a world beater when he's promoted, because he can just take out everybody. He is the perfect example of why generals aren't that great in this game, because he's basically a general that's mounted, and you can already see the problem there. Paysan with the armor knight with the steel lance. I don't think he's going to stand much chance against good old Lex, as Lex swings the brave axe yet again. 3 hits and Paysan is gone. And that is a beautiful level up for Lex. Level 24. Another point of defense. Not that he needs it, but I'm excited nonetheless. Yet another round begins, and Doma, the Dark Mage, with Jormungand. I don't think this guy stands a chance against Lex, let alone the fact that he just missed a 78. That's incredible. Jormungand is like or I should say Doma. is the big block for most units in this particular arena. If you can beat Doma, you can pretty much beat the whole arena. Keller with the Brave Lance, a Duke Knight. Yeah, you're doing next to nothing to good old Lex. 10 damage times 2 and you missed one. Ah, what a mighty foe Lex is. Level 25. One more point of strength. I appreciate that. And Thornton with the great, who is a great knight with the brave axe. Now, Thornton is actually not as scary as Keller is for most people in the arena, and the reason why is because most people use swords, and Keller has the brave lance compared to the brave axe. Very incredible. Lex is turning out to be an astonishing combative unit. And that's kind of to be expected because the man is mounted on horseback with the brave axe. I gave him the skill ring because he benefits from it the most, as well as it's a good item to give to his child, his son, that inherits all of his weapons. Now, of course, I said this before, but nobody inherits axes in the second generation, which is kind of a shame, a bit unfortunate as well. So his son is going to only inherit swords from Ira. Well, from his pairing with Ira, because her kids always are sword-using units only. So his son will inherit the skill ring, and also inherit a sword that I'm going to be allowing Lex to obtain this chapter through KOing an enemy. In this game, and this is interesting to note, you cannot, in the armory, buy a weapon that is not approved of your particular unit's weapon types. This silver axe has a lot of might. I'm going to buy it just for the sake of having a good mighted hit, but reality, and this goes without saying, reality is the brave axe is the only weapon that he's going to ever use. But Lex comes to a point where he doesn't need money whatsoever, and because of that little tidbit, he just kind of gains an incredible amount of money. Neither Lex or Ira need money. An incredible amount of money that he just sits on, so you might as well use it. Lex and Ira do have a conversation, and I think what I do here, this is the reason, one of the reasons why I have Lex do his arena first is because I like to depart with the castle with Ira, and then I like to talk to Ira with Lex. Ira, hey there.
What do you want, Lex?
Sheesh, courteous as ever, aren't you?
Look, get to your point, whatever it may be. I've better things to do than waste time on you.
Hold on, I've got a little gift here. I thought of you the moment I saw it.
You can foist it on some other woman. I've no use for such trinkets.
Not even something like this?
Oh, wait, that's...
Ah, good. You're well acquainted with the famous brave sword, then.
I never thought I'd see a real brave sword. Never have I seen a blade so beautiful.
Glad you like it. It's yours. I guess I'll see you around, Ira.
Lex? Wait a moment. Oh.
All right. So you get the brave sword. A B rank, 100 hit, 12 might, 3 weight, 1 range sword that consecutive attacks. This is, without a doubt, in my humble opinion, the best weapon in this game. It beats every holy weapon in this game once it gets crit. Before it gets crit, it's still good, because there are plenty of units that can abuse its power without it needing crit. This is especially true in the second generation when you get a second brave sword. You're not going to get crit on that brave sword. It's just not likely. at least without going through several chapters worth of like combat. But it's still useful. It's still so good. And the Brave Sword before you get crit in the first generation is a mighty, fantastic weapon. This is amazing. So what I'm going to be doing is surrounding this particular spot right next to Ira with 4 particular units in total. I believe Rekessis and Azel are going to go up here. I'm not too sure how I'm going to do this. I can't remember exactly how. But after I finish all of my little strategies and so on and so forth I have to do in fixing up my units in here, preparing for the chapter, I'm going to move them out, and then I'm going to move my units back in. I'm not actually leaving the main castle until next turn. So I can do some of my preparations and get prepared for the battle to come ahead. Alright, so Finn is prepared to class change. I thought I would stop on by and allow you to see this class change and all the stats he gains before I continue with more of my preparations. Just because I want to kind of be clairvoyant with all of the class changes in this game, allow you to see them, both what's coming and what's already here, just so that you can know exactly what you're going to get out of the promotions of your units. He gets a wild increase to a bunch of his stats. So Finn does not need to be a level 20 and promoted in order to be good in his return chapters of the second generation. But I will tell you this. If you're going to give away the Brave Lance, his best weapon is the Silver Lance. And I fully intend on giving him the Silver Lance because Quan doesn't really need it anymore. And you'll see why that is soon. I do believe, yeah, there's no other conversations right now, but Eflin and Quan have a conversation in a little while, and it's quite the incredible one. Gives him a weapon of untold might. With that being said, it is time for me to continue my preparations off-screen yet again. Another cut-in for Eflin's class change. And I would love to do so now. This gives her a pretty decent buff, I would say. As she definitely needs the stats to be a bit more combative, as well as the fact that it also gives her quite a bit of magic, if I'm not mistaken, which helps her heal and do some things with magic weapons if you wanted. 6 plus 6 strength. That's pretty incredible. Not as much magic as I remember, but that's actually still an incredible bonus because now she has reasonably good combative stats. And as you can see, I've given her the Pursuit Band. This has taken away a lot of her gold, but it's made her very competent of a fighter. And it also means that her son, who inherits all of her weapons and gear, is going to inherit the Return Band and the Pursuit Band, which is pretty cool. Now back to my preparations. After all is said and done, most of my units have gotten through the arena, and I am ready to depart castle for the big old journey ahead. I halfway want to... I don't really know that I need... Okay, these particular units... I'm just going to move this way while I wait, and then I'm going to surround Sigurd's position with the mounted knights that can reach, which is perfect. So yeah, Leif was able to promote, which is a very great thing. I'm seriously thinking about bringing Eflin up to the Tower of Bragi with Dew, and returning Dew and her when he gets the Wind Sword so that they can trade. She can give the Light Brand and get the Wind Sword, because I was thinking about it and I really do think that the Light Brand would be a better weapon for my strategy. I've never used it before for the strategy. I've used the Wind Sword and it worked perfectly fine. But it might just be that there's a better weapon for this particular thing that I'm going to be doing. Deidre is incapable of departing from castle in this particular chapter. This is the last chapter you will have Deidre, so you might as well use her as you can. As you can see, I've let her HP go down to 1. She can't really beat the point she's at in the arena. I don't remember exactly how much damage she's doing, but I want to say it was a little over half or more health. It was actually, I think it was pretty close to all. So I think it would be safe to allow her to heal up for several turns, maybe like 5 or 6, and then, or I should say 4 or 5, and then go back through the arena. And then I have my other units who all are in need of being used this particular chapter. So even my units that don't really see much combat are going to be defending my castle from the east. And the reason why is because there are a lot of foes coming from that direction. And you pretty much need everybody here to do this. Let's see, where is Ira? She's going to obviously be going with... Oh, they're already paired? Oh, that's fantastic. Lex and Ira are paired, so I don't have to worry about... You can't unpair. Marriage is permanent, as it should be. You can't unpair in this game, so I'm just going to leave her over yonder, because she needs to help out with all of these enemies. This is actually kind of amazing, because this will allow my units of import to move where they all need to go. I think I'm going to give gold here. Because the spoiler alert is that Sylvia is going to need a lot more gold than she has right now in order to get the other band that has to deal with movement. So she has the Night Ring, allows the user to use up leftover movement range after acting, and then I'm also going to be giving her the movement increasing band, which I just think these are intelligent ideals to do, in my humble opinion. I'm going to dance for these 4, and then move out. Lewin, I definitely don't want Lewin to be next to Sylvia, because Sylvia and him have a decently fast pairing, and I don't want that pairing whatsoever. Of course, I gave the Brave Sword to Sigurd. Now, the reason why I would do such a thing, even though Sigurd seems like the unit that doesn't need it, is simply due to the fact that he has the best combat in the game with it, and really utilizes it well to get KOs, especially for the fact that he has to storm the castles, each and every one. Alec can go over here and wait by his future wife. And then these two are going to move out. Yeah, this seems like a bit of a waste, but Dew has plenty of time to get to the Tower of Braggy. I have a lot to do in Seas before I can even make it to that point, so it's not that big of a deal. But I do need to move Dew to the north. That's absolutely imperative. Ooh, they're paired already too? That is so nice. I don't know when she gives... I think that might be next chapter, actually. Never mind. So that means I can just move him out. He's actually going to be helping Ideen regardless, because there are brigands over in these little areas that he's going to have to take care of with her. She's actually going to be getting both of these eastern villages, just because her getting money is a great idea. And that will be the end of my turn. As you will see with the Medino phase, now I skipped the first Medino phase because all it was a little bit of movement here and there. There are a lot of units moving in from all around you. And you have to be careful, because if you're not going to defend the eastern front of your castle, for instance, these guys will just come in and take your castle away from you. Of course, this is easily prepared for, but also you just have to know what you're doing to some extent. Make sure that you're not allowing the units to abscond your castle. And then plus you have to be kind of quick because the Orga Hill bandits will take down these villages. Unfortunately, I would love to continue this episode, but it looks about the time when my time has come to bid you all a farewell. I want to thank you for joining me. If you like my content, please upvote and follow, or like and subscribe depending on your platform, and leave a comment down below. While you're at it, have a great and glorious day gaming.